Lytudiep. Hello everyone. Have you experienced any journey yet? Thank you for following Jame and Lytudiep. Today continue the story. Let's look back at what Jame and Lytudiep have experienced. Lytudiep met Jame on an afternoon that seemed as ordinary as any other. Yet it quietly marked the beginning of everything that would follow. At that time, she was a quiet, reserved girl, carrying the weight of past wounds behind gentle eyes. Jame, on the other hand, appeared confident and strong. But inside he harbored a loneliness he rarely allowed anyone to see. Their first meeting wasn't marked by sparks or sweeping romance, it was a brief glance, a polite nod, and something unspoken in the silence between them that made both pause. Just for a moment, love didn't arrive with grand gestures. It came softly, slowly, like rain soaking into dry earth. They began spending time together, sharing little moments, conversations that went deeper with time. Lytudiep slowly let him into her world, revealing fears, scars, and the aching desire to be truly understood. Jame, too, opened up about the failures that haunted him, the pressure he carried, and his quiet yearning for someone who saw beyond the surface. In the quiet world they built together, they learned to listen, to wait, to be gentle with each other, and with themselves. But love is never just sunlight and soft breezes. There were days when Lytudiep doubted, wondering if Jame truly saw her, or was only holding on to an illusion. They argued, sometimes over trivial things that spiraled into painful silence. There were moments Jame pulled away, afraid he wasn't enough, unsure how to carry someone else's pain when he was still trying to carry his own. On long, restless nights, Lytudiep sat alone, wondering why love, when it meant so much, could still hurt so deeply. Time tested them, not through dramatic events, but through real, quiet challenges, disapproval from family, differing expectations, the strain of distance, and the slow erosion that comes from not saying the things that matter. There were moments when it seemed easier to walk away. But what kept them holding on wasn't a promise or a fantasy, it was something raw and honest that refused to disappear. Lytudiep chose to trust again, even when she was scared. Jame chose to stay, not out of guilt or obligation, but because he realized that love meant showing up, even on the hard days. They didn't need fairy tales. They didn't need perfect words or perfect timing. Just a look that said I see you. A hand to hold when the world felt too heavy. And the simple reassurance, I'm still here. And in that way, they grew, not into the perfect couple, but into two people who had weathered enough to understand what love really means. The day Jame saw Lytudiep walking toward him through a crowd, smiling that familiar, quiet smile, he realized he no longer feared the unknown. With her, he didn't have to have all the answers. And Lytudiep, meeting his eyes, no longer felt haunted by the past. With Jame, she was no longer broken or incomplete, she was whole. Even with her scars, their story didn't end there. It kept unfolding in the little, everyday choices they made, to stay, to forgive, to grow. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was real. It was theirs. And that made it beautiful.